Each school will receive a $100,000 donation from the NBA. The NBA also covers all travel expenses for both teams. Hampton and North Carolina A&T will play each other during NBA All-Star Weekend at the Intuit Dome in Inglewood. The All-Star Game is February 15th. This will be the 5th HBCU Classic sponsored by the NBA. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
All I need is one mic.
With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Tavis Smiley. I do not consider myself a fan of Sean Puffy, Puff Daddy, P. Diddy Love, Brother Love Combs. But one doesn't have to be a fan to acknowledge a simple truth about his recent jury trial. I think the primary reason he was acquitted of those sex trafficking and RICO charges is because he was overcharged in the first place. Mine is not to opine on his guilt or innocence on any of the charges the feds brought against him. But I predicted months ago that he would beat the most serious charges because, as usual, prosecutors have a really bad habit of overcharging black men. Dave Chappelle said it best, Puffy is in a RICO case all by himself, man. Hilarious and arresting at the same time. When prosecutors put a target on the backs of black men, they throw everything at them just to see what sticks. And too often, just like in the Puffy case at the very end, they move to dismiss some of the charges and then double down on the ones they think they can win. It's racist and it's wrong, and somebody ought to say so. I think I just did. Not for the benefit of Puffy, but on behalf of all the other black men who have been and sadly will be woefully overcharged in the future. With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Tavis Smiley. As always, we welcome your feedback.
Love come quick, love come in a hurry. There are thieves in the temple tonight. They don't care where they kick, just as long as they hurt you. There are thieves in the temple tonight. Come save me from all this cold despair. I can hang when you're around, but I surely die if you're not there. Love come quick, love come in a hurry. There thieves in the temple.
KBLA Talk 1580. We're dedicating that one not just to the president of the Prince fan club who's joining me next, but also to Molly Bell, because she keeps saying it. There's thieves in the temple. So happy to welcome in my colleague here. She hosts This Is Not a Drill Saturday mornings from 8 to 10 on KBLA. She is one of the lead organizers for Black Lives Matter Los Angeles, one of the original conveners of the entire movement, and the director of Black Lives Matter Grassroots, Dr. Melina Abdullah. Good morning.
Good morning. I feel good now this morning.
Yeah.
I'm sitting here. I'm listening to you, Dominique, but I'm trying to listen to Prince in the background.
Yeah, I know. You know every word, so. Even artists I love, I don't know every word. But you, I don't care what song it is. It could be a Prince song y'all never even heard of. Dr. Abdullah has all the lyrics down. So let's see, where to start. Well, I mean, let's start with you. You are just coming back from Sacramento, right? I mean, you were in the capital of the Republic of California yesterday to talk about Waukesha's Law. How'd that go? What happened? Explain what it is for people that aren't tracking it.
Sure. So everybody knows, because you talk about her often on your show, and we're grateful for that Waukesha Wilson was a 36-year-old black mother who was arrested on a very minor so-called crime, a verbal altercation. And like many working class folks, her family made the decision not to bail her out. We know that when you post bond, you don't get that money back. They didn't have the money to bail her out, and they decided to wait until she went before a judge so she could be released on OR. And when her mother came to her court hearing, her scheduled court hearing, Waukesha was not brought in. And so her mom waits till court finishes. Waukesha's not brought in for the entire day. She asks about it, doesn't get any information, starts calling around that evening, and then the next day and the next day and the next day. Finally, on the fourth day, she's able to get through to the watch commander at LAPD Metro Detention Center, who says, call this number. And she calls the phone number, and the person on the other end of the line answers coroner's office. And that's how Sister Lisa Hines found out that her daughter, her only child, Waukesha Wilson, had been killed inside LAPD Metro Detention Center. So it's not just the death of Waukesha Wilson, it's the absolute inhumane way that Lisa and her sister Sheila discovered that Waukesha had died. And so Waukesha's Law is something that we've been working on really since we kind of steadied ourselves from what actually happened. We've been working first on the federal level, trying to get the law introduced and passed, and Karen Bass was the first to introduce it in Congress, but it never passed through Congress. And then when Isaac Bryan was elected to the state assembly, and we know that he has a home at Black Lives Matter Los Angeles, he, who was at some of the protests for Waukesha, who was at the police commission meetings when we demanded justice in her name, he decided that he would carry the bill at the state level. And what we won on Monday was the introduction of Waukesha's Law into the state Senate side. We already saw it pass on the Assembly side. In fact, it passed unanimously. What the law will do is require a 24-hour limit on the notification. So if someone dies, is seriously injured, or is seriously ill in custody, they must notify that person's next of kin, their loved one, within 24 hours. And so we just got it passed through the state Senate Public Safety Committee, and we only have prayerfully 2 more steps until it actually becomes the law in this state.
So that's progress, and I think it's like you said, it's been a long time coming. It's more common than you might think. I feel like I've interviewed over the years at least a dozen families who've had someone killed in custody, most of the time under suspicious circumstances. Sometimes they say it's suicide. But it amazes me how they're never notified. Like, we killed your loved one and we're just not going to even bother to tell you? That seems so basic, but it's pretty common, right?
It's very common. In fact, almost every single killing in custody that we've experienced in California, and there's about 60 per year that we know about that are happening in Los Angeles County alone. That's just LA County. Almost every single instance, the family is not notified right away. And what you're bringing up is, if you think about, a dog, if a dog is hit by a car and it has tags on it, you notify the dog's owner. The dog's owner is notified. These are human beings. They have everything they need. When you're booked in, that you fill out all the information on emergency contacts. It wouldn't take anything for them to notify the families. And so that's really what we're saying, is that treat people at least as well as you would treat a dog, right? Treat people like they're living beings, like they're human beings. And so I think it's very difficult. One of the things that is encouraging is that we started with opposition from the sheriff's department on the assembly side, and even that opposition has fallen off. And right now we're looking at no opposition to the bill.
Oh, that's great. I'm wondering, are there any indications that this could lead to some more national kinds of laws, because I'm thinking about Mississippi, the graves that were found as part of that investigation, unmarked graves behind sheriff stations, where who knows who was there. The black people that seem to be coming up missing here, there, and everywhere. And looking at, I was just preparing for today's show, looking at the way that in-custody deaths are handled. Baltimore there was a story in WMAR too, talking about 36 cases of in-custody deaths that should have been classified as homicides, and how they classify these deaths and whether or not they report them to the families, which of course would create more community support for an investigation. Is there any chance this could become a national kind of movement?
Well, that's the hope and the prayer, right? So Sidney Kamlager is now carrying the bill at the federal level. And what we're seeing in California we don't have even Republican opposition. So I think it's an indicator, everything is crazy. In D.C., yes, there's thieves in the temple, absolutely. However, I think that there is... some people have some basic humanity. Not all of them do, right? But there are some people with some basic humanity. This is not a radical bill. This is a common sense. This is a humane bill. And so I'm hopeful that the bill that's introduced at the federal level will gain momentum when it passes in the state of California. Inshallah, that it passes in the state of California.
Yeah, I'm looking at this Reuters data, jail deaths surging 35% between 2009 and 2019. And you got to that's nationally. And you got to wonder, what that looks like between 2019 and 2025, because the number of human beings killed by cops is rising every year. So that makes me think that graph probably matches for in-custody deaths, even though I don't have the data in front of me.
That's right. Just to give a quick example of how it's rising is Waukesha Wilson's family actually experienced another in-custody death. Their cousin was killed inside a Memphis jail, and we've read about it. That's their blood relative was killed inside, and we remember that there's a brother who was eaten to death by bed bugs. That's their loved one. So one family has two of these horrific deaths, and this is what we're seeing all across the country. And this would be one way to. It's not radical, but it's necessary.
Not radical, but important. Yeah. Well, and I'm glad that at least on the state level we were able to keep Waukesha's name on it, because I know that was important to her family to have Waukesha's law be named after her. And sometimes these folks like to try to change stuff like that because of their politics, particularly when, as you said, it's not a radical bill. It's just common sense. Dr. Melina Abdullah, we do have a lot to talk about. I want to run a bunch of other stuff by you, but congratulations and thanks for going up there and testifying and inspiring these folks to support this legislation.
Liam, we're grateful also to Isaac Bryan, but also to Waukesha's family. I didn't testify. Her mother did, and that's re-traumatizing every single time. But Sister Lisa continues to be a warrior for our people, even in the midst of our grief.
Amazing. Yeah, they are an incredible family. 800-920-1580 if you want to talk to Dr. Melina Abdullah, me, or even Miles. Miles got a few things to say. He's Tupac'd up today with the Tupac T-shirt on. You're listening to KBLA Talk 1580.
She's reclaiming her time on KBLA Talk 1580. More First Things First with Dominique DiPrima when we come forward.
Yeah. At KBLA Talk 1580, we're proud to be celebrating 4 years on the air, but we know we could not have made it this far without you. We work hard every single day to curate conversations that will enlighten, encourage, and empower you. So, from all of us at KBLA Talk 1580, a big thank you for your love and support.
You don't know how much you mean to me.
And
By the way, if your smartphone did not update automatically, be sure to download our brand new KBLA 1580 app. We think you'll love all the new features, including new ways to send us photos and video in real time. Whenever news breaks, while we're on the air, it's a new dawn, a new day for KBLA Talk 1580, and we're glad you're on this journey with us.
You never turned away, you were right there. And I thank you, thank you.
Hey, Mom, I've been meaning to talk to you about some new COVID information I saw online.
Uh-huh.
I read that black folks like us with certain conditions like diabetes, heart disease, mental health conditions, or being 50 and older, like you, are at high risk.
Boy, you sound like a commercial.
I'm just saying. I know you love your ginger teas and essential oils, but remember, there are treatment options for COVID-19.
I promise if I get sick again, I'll call my doctor to ask about my options.
Visit WeTalkWeRise.com to learn more. Brought to you by Pfizer.
What's that sound? That's the sound of Downy Unstoppable scent beads going into your washing machine and giving your clothes freshness that lasts all day long. There it is again. It's like music to your ears, or more like music to your nose. That freshness is irresistible. Let's get a Downy Unstoppables bottle shake. And now a sniff solo. Nice. With Downy Unstoppables, you just toss, wash, wow, for all-day freshness.
This is the story of the one. As a lineman, he does whatever it takes to keep the power on in his community. And he wants a partner like Grainger who does the same. Grainger offers the professional-grade products he needs, from voltage detectors to harnesses to hard hats, plus fast, dependable delivery, so he can rise to every challenge. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Oh no, stomach issues again?
Stomach issues?
Who are you?
Your pancreas. I could be the real reason for your diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose oily stools.
I thought it was my stomach.
People often do, but any of these symptoms could mean having a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and speak with your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
Hey man, hey, what's up? What's that station you listening to? Oh man, you don't know? That's Talk Radio, KBLA 1580 AM. Check it out. 1580 KBLA AM. 1580 Talk Radio. Progressive.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we're celebrating our 4th anniversary, and this track right here is the gift one of our devoted listeners presented to us.
Where you get some information, get a true education, just to know who, yeah, 1580.
How cool is that? Having a member of our KBLA delegation write us a song. Stop it! Our listeners love us and there ain't nothing we can do about it. Wouldn't want to. Thanks to Cardell and everybody else for turning on KBLA Talk 1580. We love you right black.
Thanks for starting your morning off with a voice that speaks truth to power and the powerless, getting to the heart of what matters most in our community. This is where authentic conversation meets real action. From breaking news and politics to culture and community solutions. This is where you hear perspectives you won't hear anywhere else. This is where we come together, get informed, and make change happen. You're inside First Things First with Dominique DiPrima on KBLA Talk 1580.
Good morning, sunshine. You make my day.
The conversation continues right now with Dominique DiPrima on First Things First.
My friend and colleague is in the studio. Surprise! Dr. Melina Abdullah is here.
Trying to put on some lip gloss so y'all don't talk bad about me.
Oh, they're used to it because I be putting on lip gloss on the air all the time, finishing up my makeup at 6:03. But yeah, if you want to go to KBLA 1580, you can see Dr. Abdullah, and I appreciate you coming in. It's great to see you.
Great to see you too.
Yes.
You look great.
Thank you. You know what? I have this theory that African sun makes you irresistible.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can you resist me? No. So yeah, man. Congratulations, I guess. This coming weekend is how many years of Black Lives Matter LA?
12.
12 years. So it's the 13th, right? Is the anniversary?
No, the 12th anniversary.
I mean the 13th of the month.
Oh, yes. I'm sorry.
The 13th of the month is the 12th anniversary. Yeah. Congrats on that.
But folks are coming in today, so it's great. So it's 51 chapters all around the world, including we got a Black Lives Matter Sweden chapter.
Wow.
That's coming in. So that's really exciting. Our staff is here now, and we're in the midst of staff retreats and all kinds of stuff. It's exciting. That's what keeps us going.
And that's more chapters than Black Lives Matter has ever had, right?
Far more chapters. So the largest we ever were was 40 chapters. So we're now at 51 formations and 43 actual chapters. And the difference is sometimes if there's, like in California, we have several chapters. Those chapters then form a formation so they can move statewide legislation like Waukesha's law. So 51 total formations.
Wow, that's amazing. That's a lot of folks. And I think it's important to know, for folks to know that, because you don't see the huge numbers of people marching on the streets, for Black lives. People think it's over, but it ain't over. People are moving in their local areas.
And they are marching on the streets. The cameras have turned away.
Yeah.
Right? So Jabari Peoples, who was just killed in Homewood, Alabama, and hopefully people are watching this, right? This 18-year-old child who was doing, and we always say there's no perfect victims, but if there are perfect victims, right? If you were trying to talk about a perfect victim, Jabari Peoples, an 18-year-old who graduated from high school with honors, was heading to Alabama A&M University and was sitting on the soccer field that he grew up on with his girlfriend and is approached by a white cop in an unmarked car, told to get out the car. And what would you do? Both of them run towards the woods when there's this man pointing a gun at them, is shot in the back by this cop. So there are still people marching in the streets. So we're grateful that Cara and Eric and Black Lives Matter Birmingham can't come to the convening, because instead they're standing with the family of Jabari Peoples. They took over the mayor's office last week. And on the 12th, on Saturday, they'll be standing with the family and burying Jabari Peoples.
So sad.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, once again, we have a situation where they won't release the body cam footage, right?
Won't release the body cam footage, and that's the big demand, is that the body cam footage be released in its entirety. Ben Crump recently signed on as the attorney in the case. So we're hopeful that with his profile and kind of media following, that we'll be able to elevate the case of Jabari Peoples. But we also have to remember, and we're grateful, I've had conversation with Jabari's family, that we have to remember that Jabari Peoples, even though he's picked up some steam on media, that doesn't mean he's the only case. As you pointed out, last year there were more police killings than any other year on record. And we're responding every single time. We're marching every single time. We're taking over headquarters every single time. We're lifting up Erskine Jenkins' name. But we need people to pay attention. So just because you don't see it on the news doesn't mean it's not happening. So we want people to follow our social media as a source of information, which is BLM Grassroots, so that you can know what's happening, not just with the most recent killings, but also with the follow-up. To get this Waukesha's Law moving, it took 9 years. And so we're constantly, we can't forget names like Steve Perkins, who's the black father also in Alabama, whose case is finally going to trial in September, right? So we don't want to have an uprising and then forget about the case, because then that will fall. Even the most kind of visible cases, Senior Airman Roger Fortson in Florida was one of the cases where the world went, what? Right? But his case is just now moving. And so we can't forget Roger Fortson in Florida. And so Black Lives Matter Grassroots is committed to providing support, committed to doing things like organizing press conferences and doing marches and pushing legislation and policy. And we know that there's kind of been a media whiteout of Black Lives Matter. So we need to do more kind of direct communication with those who care about Black life.
I mean, to be honest, I just feel like the mainstream media learned their lesson, which is if they report on the stuff, more people are going to join the protests. And now the crackdown on media in this country is so much more blatant, right? Where you have CBS and all these other big corporations writing checks to the president.
That's right. That's right. So we're grateful, especially to Black media, KBLA, who gives us a platform, a direct communication platform. You, Dominique, for, I always quote the African proverb, until the lion tells the story, the hunter will always be the hero. So there are some courageous folks like you, like Tavis, like I saw Nick Quarterly in D.C., right?
When he was asking Trump questions.
I know.
Good job, Dr. Nee.
Good job. Who are willing to be lions, right? So we have to be willing to be lions, not just incorporated into a white supremacist corporate system, regurgitating stories that are pleasing to the system that oppresses us.
Yeah, and even telling stories that aren't pleasing in ways that, make you a hero to them by lying.
Right.
I mean, the lying that goes on is just. It's baffling as a person in this space to see how far we've fallen. Even the fake objectivism is gone.
That's right.
Objectivity, yeah.
And I think that now we get all into what is the purpose of journalism, right? The purpose of journalism is supposed to be to convey information to the public so that we can critically decide what to do with that information.
Informed electorate.
That's right. And I think even the notion of objectivity is something that we have to grapple with.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, I don't believe in that. I think we can only see through our own eyes.
That's right.
I believe you can be fair, but you can't be objective. You're a human. You're a human organism. You can be fair. They don't even try. Dr. Melina Abdullah is here. We got a lot to take on. I think 80 cops now are under investigation for their actions during the protests. I want to get your thoughts on that and more when we continue after news, traffic, and sports, only right here.
The station you turn to when you've had it up to gear with cultural incompetence. KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. President Trump hosted leaders from 5 West African nations at the White House to discuss trade, investment, and security.
My administration is committed to strengthening our friendships in Africa through economic development efforts that benefit both the United States and our partners.
The summit marks a shift from aid to economic partnerships, with Trump pledging support for resource development and infrastructure projects. Black 18-year-old Sanaya Cheatham died in NYPD custody after being arrested in the Bronx, found hanging in her cell. Her family disputes claims of suicide and is demanding surveillance footage. And history is in the making at MLB All-Star Week. Don't miss the HBCU Swingman Classic presented by T-Mobile and hosted by Ken Griffey Jr. July 11th at Truist Park in Atlanta, Georgia. Stick around for post-game fireworks. Get your tickets now at allstargame.com. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
The Crohn's and Colitis Foundation has been at the forefront of inflammatory bowel disease research and care for over 50 years. Learn more about research, education, and support at Crohn'sColitisFoundation.org.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson. This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
It's never too early to start talking about money in realistic ways with your kids. JP Morgan Chase navigates how to educate your kids now about creating long-lasting, healthy money habits. Whether your kids are in elementary school, high school, or college, now is a great time to start a conversation about ways to create healthy money habits as they grow, ultimately benefiting their financial future. Talking about money in a realistic way to support your kids' lifestyle and dreams, your first banking account geared towards high school or college. It's never too early. Explaining the basics, what you earn and what you spend, building financial confidence starts with getting organized. Learning and practicing vital money skills now will stay with them for life. Tools they will have to stay on top of their finances and achieve their goals. This segment is sponsored by JP Morgan Chase.
No one wants to leave behind stress for their family. That's why a trust or a will is so important. Without one, your assets might go to the wrong people or leave out loved ones. Also, probate is long, expensive, and often avoidable with a revocable trust. Trustandwill.com makes it simple to create a personalized estate plan. A trust or will provides clarity and peace of mind. Get 20% off on your estate plan documents by visiting trustandwill.com/radio.
Career changers, including veterans and active duty service members. Your transition starts here. Go from GI to IT in a matter of months. Become a certified cyber warrior with training at My Computer Career. Cybersecurity specialists are in high demand, offering IT pros great opportunities and a rewarding lifestyle while protecting our people, liberty, and treasured institutions from cyber threats. Deploy your career in IT today. Learn more at mycomputercareer.edu/CWP. SkillBridge and other VA benefits are available to those who qualify.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 reminds you, when we fight, we win. The Youth Justice Coalition is challenging America's addiction to incarceration and discrimination. YJC works to dismantle policies leading to mass incarceration, law enforcement violence, and the school-to-prison pipeline. Their approach? Transformative justice, community intervention, free LA high school, legal defense, and system monitoring. YJC promotes safety without relying on prisons. Their goal? Prevent system contact and help people exit the system through direct action, advocacy, and education. Want to get involved or need help? Call 323-235-4243. That's 323-235-4243. Join YJC in creating change. When we fight, we win. KBLA Talk 1580, your voice for justice. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
We knew you'd stick around. This is LA's home for progressive talk radio. Welcome back to KBLA Talk 1580.
Dr. Melina Abdullah is here. You can find her at Doc Melly Mel on all the platforms, and also follow BLM Grassroots and Black Lives Matter Los Angeles, right?
BLM Los Angeles, BLM Grassroots, and then, of course, I'm Doc Melly Mel.
And I noticed you've been doing more podcasts. I was happy to see you on, what's his name, Pastor Jamal Bryant's podcast. I was happy to see you doing some of these little conversations, because I feel like, you know, it's important for people to hear from the people that are standing, you know, with Jabari Peoples, that are standing with Waukesha Wilson, that are following up year in, year out, week in, week out.
Thank you. And we're always grateful when these folks let us tell the story, right? Use their platforms to help us tell the story. So it took some doing, but grateful to have been in conversation with Jamal Bryant, who didn't know about the difference between BLM Grassroots and the thieves, right? Another set of thieves in the temple, right?
Yeah.
He didn't know about that. And so
and of course, you're referring to Black Lives Matter Global Network Foundation. I mean, it sounds like we're just the name Global Network Foundation. They're the ones that took the money.
They're the ones that took
your
the
money.
money and continue to take the money, right? They continue to. So we always talk about the theft in 2020, which was $90 million in 2020. But the next year it was tens of millions of dollars. And the next year, and even last year, I think it was something like $10 million. So they continue to enrich themselves and line their own pockets and fly private to Africa. They didn't fly the way you flew to Africa. They
That's
flew
crazy.
private and brought their whole team, including their professional makeup artists, because, God forbid they have to look like their organizers. They want to look face fully beat.
Right,
Yeah.
influencers.
Mhm.
Well, I mean, the thing is, I saw the 990s, which is the filing that nonprofits have to do to tell you how they're spending their money. And this guy, Shalomia Bowers, who was the main architect of the thievery, is making millions, literally making millions. While you don't even take a salary, you have a job. You have a couple day jobs.
That's
and
right.
you do the organizing. So if that alone doesn't convince you, this guy gets millions and hasn't been in one single protest, and you get reimbursement for French fries.
Right.
Maybe.
Right.
That's
And we
crazy.
know that there's 3 of them that
Right.
are doing this, that are lining their pockets, that are talking about things like black opulence and wearing T-shirts that say, I'm billing you for this conversation. We know that when they talk about the $6 million so-called mansion, it's not a mansion. It's just a big house, right?
Yeah.
We can remember the history of big houses. We know that they're talking about them, and it's wrong. It's wrong because this is money that poured in because people wanted to do something in the name of the folks who've been stolen. They wanted to do something because Sheila Bates, our Sheila, right, was beaten, bruised beyond imaginable. This is a little tiny woman by Torrance police standing in the name of Christopher DeAndre Mitchell. People donated because people went to jail, and Brittany Martin went to prison for 4 years, torn away from her 7 children. And instead, these people who, I believe in naming names, Shalomia Bowers, Cecily Gay, and Dejanay Parker, decided it's payday for them. And they continue to pay themselves rather than allow the money to go where it's supposed to go, which is to the real work on the ground.
Yeah. Well, God don't like ugly. I still think the real activists like yourself are going to prevail eventually in this. And you know me, I probably shouldn't say this while you're here, but I believe it's a conspiracy. I believe the Democratic Party conspired to take the money from Black Lives Matter so y'all wouldn't have such a big megaphone to defund the police. But we'll go more into that when Dr.
Did you
Melina
see my
Abdullah's not.
tweet?
No.
Did you?
Oh yeah, I did see
said
that.
It's a conspiracy. C-O-N-spiracy. Remember that?
Yeah, it's definitely they put the con in conspiracy
Yeah.
for sure. Okay, so you're getting some love here. E.C. Courtney, happy anniversary, BLM. Love the look, Queen. A lot of folks saying, Daniel Samir Siren saying, congratulations on 12 years, Black Lives Matter Grassroots. Thank you for continuing your work. Dr. Abdullah, greetings from Chicago. Lots of love in the YouTube chat.
Thank y'all.
Yeah, and I think it's important right now because some people are feeling discouraged and afraid. And you always say this, but I really see it right now. The power of the people is the only thing that's going to counteract what's going on right now.
That's right. Well, I'm going to go back to those Prince lyrics, right? It's about thieves in the temple, but the song is love come quick, love come in a hurry, right? We know revolution, our basis as revolutionaries is love, right? And if you look at what's happening with the way that we're constantly being hit, we have to remind ourselves and fill ourselves in the truth that most people are fueled by love. There's thieves in the temple, but if you look at what's happening with them trying to round up Haitians and Haitians going, oh no, you ain't getting none of us, right? Them surrounding folks. So fill ourselves with that. Fill ourselves with the fact that 80-something organizers are coming to Los Angeles, some from as far away as Stockholm, Sweden. in order to learn tools like, what does community self-defense look like? What does community healing look like? How do we beat back fascism and unmasked racism? That let's fuel ourselves in the knowledge and ground ourselves in the knowledge that we have a bigger force. People power beats money power every day of the week, right?
Yeah.
And so we have the power of the people.
Yeah, and I think that's the lean in. Because that's the lean in. Because just, like fear, it can spread. Courage is also contagious, for real.
That's right. That's right.
So the LAPD is investigating more than 80 complaints of officer misconduct from last month's protests, according to the LA Times. More than half of those involve in excessive force. I've been seeing some decent television coverage of this. I think it's because they're really gruesome injuries. If it bleeds, it leads.
Right.
People with jacked up faces from getting the so-called non-lethal weapons fired in their faces, and people actually disabled and gravely injured. 86 incidents are under investigation, according to the Professional Standards Bureau. What do you make of this? It's feeling really Groundhog Day-ish. Like, I feel like I keep doing the same story.
Right. Well, we know in 2020 we saw the unleashing, right, is the term Trump uses, the unleashing of LAPD on folks who were demonstrating. We know even our brother in the movement, Kendrick Sampson, was beaten horribly.
The actor
from Insecure. Folks know him from Insecure and other places. We know that this round, we saw it when I was tear gassed. Baba Keeley was punched. 2 of our folks were shot with rubber bullets.
You're talking about a 75-year-old man punched by a cop.
He'll be 77 on the 13th.
Okay, a 77-year-old man who was almost punched by what?
Yes.
Possible.
And not the first time.
Right.
Not the first time, right? That this continues to happen. So 86 is a low number. That's because most people haven't reported the police to the police, right? But also we have to, I think all of us, when we saw Karen Bass at MacArthur Park a few days ago, were saying it's about time and encouraged, right? That we cannot say this is a sanctuary city and then fuel LAPD, LA County sheriffs, and all the other local law enforcement agents to protect ICE, not the people from ICE, but to protect ICE. And so Kenneth Mejia is doing a good job at exposing, but also giving people a way to make complaints outside of going to LAPD for LAPD abuse, right? Kenneth Mejia is our controller, who you've had on several times here. But we need to make sure, I think 86 is just the tip of the iceberg. You're going to see at every protest, which is almost every day, has been almost every day, and continues. So whether the news is there or not, there are demonstrations in communities. No community that I've ever seen has just allowed ICE to come in and kidnap people without community rising up. And so I think you're going to see that number explode in terms of who's experiencing abuses. And prayerfully, since Mayor Bass was at MacArthur Park and saw it with her own eyes and felt some emotion, you could hear it in her voice, prayerfully LAPD will stop being used as a shield for ICE.
Yeah, I mean, to your point, those 86 incidents were, they said, the LAPD themselves said, were mostly generated by citizens. And most of us aren't going to call LAPD when LAPD hurts us. So it's going to be interesting. There's lawsuits being filed. As you mentioned, the controller is keeping data. It's going to be really different, I think, the numbers that we get when we look at other sources.
That's right. That's right.
Yep. Because the ACLU says they've gotten 250 people that have contacted them.
Already.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that means we haven't, no lessons learned from the May Day, from 2020, from the Women's March, from any of these. You know, you would think we got a new police chief. They keep saying that they have new policies, supposedly. Yeah, go ahead.
The new police chief was ousted as sheriff because he was so bad, people would prefer Alex Villanueva over Jim McDonnell. He was ousted because he was staunchly anti-immigrant. And so just because he's now appointed by Mayor Bass does not mean that his position has all of a sudden taken a 180. So we got to be really, really clear about who Jim McDonnell is. And we have to remember that this unleashing on law enforcement includes LAPD feeling their unleashing, includes LA County Sheriff feeling unleashed and engaging in ways where they know they're not going to be held accountable.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, coming from the top. Talking with Dr. Melina Abdullah. Man, we'll get to as much of this stuff as we can. Sheriff's Oversight Committee having some hearings today. Get your take on that. So much to unpack. KBLA Talk 1580.
More of First Things First with Dominique DiPrima when we come forward.
LA County's Justice Care and Opportunities Department, also known as JCOD, is changing the justice system for Angelenos. If you or someone you love has recently been arrested, come home from jail or prison, or has been justice involved, JCOD can help. We offer access to housing, employment, court reminders, clothing, education, and more. At JCOD, we believe your life should not be defined by your worst moment, and everyone deserves a second chance. JCOD's Justice Connect Support Center is open 7 days a week from 6 a.m. to 11 p.m. Call us at 833-LAC-JCOD. That's 833-522-5263, or visit us at jcod.lacounty.gov. You can also find us on Instagram, Threads, Facebook, and YouTube at LAC JCOD. All services are free and confidential. JCOD serves the justice-impacted population all across LA County. Your future isn't behind you, it's waiting. Reach out by calling 833-LAC-JCOD. That's 833-522-5263, or visit jcod.lacounty.gov.
Hey, man. Hey, what's up, What's that station you listening to? Oh, man, you don't know? That's Talk Radio. KBLA, 1580 AM. Check it out. 1580 KBLA AM. 1580 Talk Radio. Progressive.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we're celebrating our 4th anniversary, and this track right here is the gift one of our devoted listeners presented to us.
Where you get some information, get a true education to know. Ooh, yeah. 1580.
How cool is that? Having a member of our KBLA delegation write us a song. Stop it! Our listeners love us, and there ain't nothing we can do about it. Wouldn't want to. Thanks to Cardell and everybody else for turning on KBLA Talk 1580. We love you right black.
Hey there, Los Angeles. This is James Lucky Jr., publisher and editor of Los Angeles News Observer. Are you hungry for news that matters to you in the African-American communities of Los Angeles? Well, buckle up, because we got the scoop you've been craving. Stay in the know and never miss a beat with our free weekly publications conveniently available near you. Or hop on the digital wave and become an exclusive subscriber at OGNSC.com. Don't forget to join the party on Instagram and Twitter at OGNSCINC for behind-the-scenes access and sizzling updates. No more FOMO. Let's stay informed, connected, and empowered together.
Why'd I go to the doctor? My heart would race just taking my son to practice. It didn't feel right. So I got checked out. Turns out I have atrial fibrillation, which increases the risk of stroke about 5 times.
Symptoms like irregular heartbeat, heart racing, chest pain, shortness of breath, fatigue, or lightheadedness can come and go. But if it's AFib, the risk of stroke remains. If you have symptoms, contact a doctor.
I'm so glad I did.
Visit notimetowait.com. Sponsored by Bristol-Myers Squibb and Pfizer.
Heard any other talk radio lately that sounds anything like this? We didn't think You're listening to Unapologetically Progressive KBLA Talk 1580.
Dr. Melina Abdullah is here, and you guys are having BLM Los Angeles having an organizing meeting.
Yeah.
On your anniversary, and I understand there's meant to be ice cream.
There is. There. And look, I sound like I'm doing a commercial, but I appreciate when remember in 2020, every corporation was putting Black Lives Matter on their stuff. Black Lives Matter when you turn on your Xbox, right? Or Black Amazon was saying Black Lives Matter, right? Well, nobody's doing that anymore except Ben and Jerry's, right? Ben and Jerry's. Did you see Ben Cohen get arrested?
That was crazy.
I love them. So Ben and Jerry's is helping us. They're bringing an ice cream truck. We're not competing with All Chill. Like if you go spend money, spend it with Black owned. And All Chill is great. But
All Chill is the ice cream store next door to the Black Lives Matter LA Center for Black Power.
And it's delicious, like homemade ice
I know,
cream.
it's yummy.
Black owned.
That butter
right?
pecan. Anyway.
Yeah.
So, but there's an organizing meeting Sunday, and y'all are doing an ice cream truck?
Ben and Jerry's is coming with an ice cream truck, a free ice cream truck. But what we expect, probably 150 or so folks at the center, so that we can celebrate what it means to have done this work for 12 years, what it means to commit to doing the work for the long haul. We'll also be celebrating the 77th birthday of Baba Akili, and she's sharing it, so I'm going to share it. We also know my co-host for This Is Not a Drill, Kim Holmes, has been out for the last several months because she had breast cancer. And she is cancer-free.
Yay.
So she's coming back, and it's also her birthday. So we'll be celebrating
big party,
her birthday.
some organizing, some encouragement.
Yes.
If you haven't been, it'd be a great opportunity to check out BLMLA Center for Black Power in Leimert Park, right across from the actual park thing.
That's right. 3423 West 43rd Place is the address, and we were birthed in Africatown in Leimert Park, in the actual park, on July 13th. So we'll be at the place of our birth, and everyone is welcome. We also have dinner and grocery bags and a good time, but also people do keep asking, what can I do? So as all of this unmasked racism and fascism heaps upon us, people ask, what can I do? Well, we have things that you can do. We have calls that you can make to demand the release of the body cam for Jabari peoples. We have ways that you can plug in to make sure Waukesha's law becomes law and not just a bill that was making its way and then the governor doesn't sign it, right? So we have ways for you to plug in. We still protest every Wednesday, every single Wednesday. So yesterday we were protesting in front of the district attorney's office, who's a horrible human being and should absolutely be unseated, right? How do you calendar these things and join us? And we did see, I didn't mention this, but when we were heading up to Sacramento, there were a bunch of families who were heading up there for another bill, including the family of Yang Yang, who was a Korean brother who was killed in the midst of a mental health crisis about 1.5 years ago. And his family was on the plane with us, and they came to the protest yesterday. So people can come and build what Dr. King calls beloved community, and we plan to do all of that on Sunday at 7 at the Center for Black Power.
7 p.m. Wow, good stuff on this Sunday. And then today, actually, the LA County Sheriff Civilian Oversight Commission is having a virtual listening session, inviting the community to share their experiences involving deputies they believe are members of deputy gangs. This is online. coc.lacounty.gov. I think it's the final one of a series of these.
That's right. So we're grateful that this is happening, and everyone, and also when we talked about courageous reporting, Cerise Castle,
yes,
for really committing herself to exposing LA County Sheriff's deputy gangs, right? And people...
At her great peril, by the way. I mean, Villanueva was investigating her and all this other stuff.
That's right. That's right. And still she put it on the line and is not backing down from it, and is inspiring others to come forward, including people who've been directly impacted. So who's testified already are the families, the mother of John Horton, who was killed by the 3,000 boys inside Men's Central Jail. And anybody who's had loved ones or been inside Men's Central Jail knows there are absolutely sheriff's deputy gangs inside both the 2,000 boys and 3,000 boys. That's usually how they're initiated, is through the jail system. We know that Anthony Vargas's family has already testified. That's the Sister Stephanie, Luna, and Valerie Vargas, the aunties, right? Anthony Vargas was killed on the east side by a sheriff's deputy gang. Who hasn't been able to come out is because the folks who've been set up and are still inside as a result of those setups are people like Jay Burton. So we always say free Jay Burton, who is the co-founder of all three of our prison chapters in Lancaster, Kern Valley, and Corcoran State Prison. We have Black Lives Matter grassroots chapters inside the prison. When Jay was just 16 years old, he was set up and framed by the Linwood Vikings and is still at 52 years old, still inside at Kern Valley State Prison, and spent much of his time in solitary confinement as a result of his political activism. So this is what we're seeing happen, and I'm glad that this oversight is moving. And now what will the consequence be, right?
Well, yeah, what will the consequence be? But the fact that it's also good to remind people that, it is the people that push this through. That's and right. Then it ends up. But today would be your day if you want to speak out on that. And I think it's an opportunity for folks to do so.
That's right. And when you say the people push that, the people push the hearings, but even the establishment of a civilian oversight commission happened because people demanded it. So, the saying that when we fight, we win is absolutely true, that when we fight, we win. And I think in moments like this, we have to remember that there is something to be won. So keep fighting.
Yeah. Well, I got 372 more questions because you're also a political scientist, and I'm so curious what you think about a lot of things. But we got a minute and a half here, so I'm just going to hand you the mic, my fellow radio broadcaster, and say what you want to say, do what you want to do with it.
I'm going to just say that in moments like this, we have to stand up. And I know there's been a lot of talk about Black people sitting it out. Look, we're experiencing what fascism means to Black people right now. So the idea that somebody else can be, what do they call it, cannon fodder, right, is absolutely untrue. It belies history. Anytime there's oppression in the world, Black people get the brunt of it. So the real, not just moral position to take, but it is a moral position. And one of our fights is hanging on to our morality, our spirituality, hanging on to who we are as righteous human beings, right? It's a moral question, but it's also a strategic question. We're never going to win by saying this is somebody else's problem. So we have to pledge solidarity with brown folks who we see getting snatched up by ICE and DHS and all of these other entities. But we also have to remember that migrants include Black migrants. And I know you've had Nana Jomfi on many times. And that I just saw military vehicles on Crenshaw. So this $180 billion that is now going into these state terrorist forces are coming for us right now. And so the only answer is the power of the people, and not just individual power, but collective power. So in the words of Kwame Ture, organize, organize, organize. We would love for you to organize with Black Lives Matter Grassroots, and you can find how to plug in by going to BLM Grassroots on all social media.
And follow. Dr. Melina Abdullah, thank you for coming in. It's great to see you.
It's great to see you, too.
Phone lines are open. You got a thing to say? Say it now. 800-920-1580. KBLA, Talk 1580.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. President Trump hosted leaders from 5 West African nations at the White House to discuss trade, investment, and security.
My administration is committed to strengthening our